Hi, welcome to this dynamic practice. It's called Concave, Convex. That's a title inspired by a poem by Heishin that I'll share with you during final relaxation. In addition to back bends and forward folds in this practice, that's very linear. And what I like to do is offer like almost a two-dimensional cues. So it does feel like we're opening either side of our body, very parachute-like. So it's like two dimensions, so opening up like a parachute and closing like a parachute. So it's that style of movement. It does take up a lot of space. We will be doing, so have a strap and a block at the ready. And as an option, we'll be doing a handstand variation. So you can either do a handstand against the wall. If you're gonna do the last handstand variation, you're gonna need a fair amount of space. And let me just demonstrate what we're going to work toward, if you so choose. But your hands are on the floor close to the wall. The legs go out to the side and come down, or go out to the side and lift up. So make sure you have enough lateral space, like space on either side of you, so you don't hit your foot on something going up or coming down, injure yourself and cause any damage to your furniture or any items around you. So that's one of the options in our handstands. So let's begin on the back. You're gonna lie face up with your hands underneath your head. Your knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. And as you inhale, elbows and knees go out to the sides and toward the floor. Also arch your back, that's your inhale. And then exhale, elbows together, knees together. Lift your head, shoulder blades, and as many ribs as you can off the floor. So it's like an old-fashioned crunch. Inhale as you take your knees down, elbows down, arch. Exhale, round and lift. So this is a big parachute-like movement. In addition to being very vertical, like linear along the spine, it also introduces a wideness of your front torso on inhale, and then a collection of the torso on exhale. So go back and forth like this another few times, breathing in and out through the nose, if that feels available. So linking the breath, or linking the movement to the breath, another few times here. Okay, very good. So after your next exhale, after the next lift, you place your head on the floor. Legs can remain where they are. From here, you're going to take hold of opposite elbows. And you're going to lift your elbows up toward the ceiling as you inhale. Hold elbows with opposite hands. Inhale, you're lifting elbows up toward the ceiling. Exhale, use one arm to draw the other one across. And you're going to look past the stretch. So elbows to one side, head turns opposite. As you inhale, come back to center, and let's alternate sides here. So we'll be working a lot with the arms going forward in front of our heart and behind us, behind our heart. So to warm up the shoulder blades, to warm up the shoulder joint, and the muscles around them. You can notice that if one shoulder feels a little tighter than the other one. Next time you come back to center, switch the lacing of your arms, other forearm on top. Exhale, elbows in one direction, head turns the other way. Inhale, you come to center, and alternate sides a few more times. Okay. Great. Then you come back to center. Relax your elbows on the ground, shoulders on the ground. Notice the new sensations around shoulders, upper arms. Take a breath here. Okay, great. And then you can turn onto one side. The next practice is slow kick of football. So your bottom arm can be like a pillow for your head. Top hand can be used for balance and anchoring. Top leg extends, and as you inhale, you point your toes back, bend your knee, and arch your hips and spine backward. So we're in extension on inhale. And then as you exhale, round your spine, press your heel out in front of you. And go back and forth like this several times. So this move is pretty linear. We will be doing a back bend sequence toward the end of our practice today. So particularly on the inhale, you breathe into belly, squeeze the muscles on your back body. And as you exhale, there's that crunching action. The navel draws in, you press your heel out. So you go back and forth like this another few times. All right, and then after your next inhale, is relax on the back, take an exhale, notice the difference between sides. Pause on your back, take a breath here. And I'm going to change direction for demonstration purposes, you don't have to. All right, and then let's flip over to the other side. Once again, bottom arm is used as like a pillow for your head. Top hand can be like a balance and anchoring on the floor. And from there, your top leg extends. As you inhale, you're gonna point your toes back, bend your knee, arch your spine. So this is squeezing of back body, expanding of front body. And then as you exhale, bring your leg out in front, straighten your leg, and round your spine. And go back and forth like this several times. So warming up the front back body. So you stretch out the front of your system as you inhale. You engage it on exhale. Notice this a few more times, linking the movement with the breath. Exhale as you round. Inhale as you expand. All right, and one last big inhale. As you exhale, release. From here, lie face down. And you're going to reach your arms forward. Your head can be on the floor or you can look forward, whatever makes more sense to you. Also, if you'd like, you can point your toes back. So we're lengthening the top of the feet. And as you inhale, this is cross-functional work. You're going to draw one shoulder blade in, lift one arm up, and lift the opposite leg. So you're squeezing the back body on inhale. Exhale, lower both limbs to the floor, and we'll alternate sides. So the other arm lifts, diagonal leg lifts as well. Exhale, so you're alternating the diagonals, back cross-functional work here. As you're lifting your limbs, see if you can keep your hips anchored into the floor. And what that does is really isolate the work. 2 shoulders, 2 hips. And of course, this diagonal work is another aspect of this kind of parachute-like convexity of our front body that I'm working on today. So go back and forth like that another few times. Okay, great. And then lower to the floor. From here, sweep your hands behind you. You can bridge the gap with a strap if you'd like, interlace your fingers, or use a strap. And from there, draw your shoulder blades into the back. Send your arms back and lift into a locust, so the lungs are going forward. And from here, if you'd like, you can keep your legs on the ground. If you'd like, lift your thighs up. So again, hips anchor, lungs go forward, thighs lift back and up. And there's 2 or 3 more breaths here. Big inhale, big exhale, breath in, big exhale. And one last time, take a deep breath in. Okay, great. Hands plant, and let's come and sit back on the heels. If this does not work for your feet or your knees or anything like that, you can also do the eagle arms. We're doing Garudasana arms seated. So you can sit on your heels. If you'd like, you can take Virasana, sit in between the heels if that feels available. Otherwise, you don't need to do this at all. You can sit cross-legged or even stand. for this next one. So I'll be mirroring you, so I'm gonna lift my left arm, but you take your right arm up, elbow bent, fingers pointing up, and then your left arm sweeps underneath the right. And if you're able to, you can hold, you can take your fingerprints to your thumb. If that's not available, you can always use a strap in your top arm and reach and hold the strap. So this is the eagle arms, either with a strap or without. And then from here, you send your elbows forward, and as you send your elbows forward, you're gonna draw the shoulder blades away from one another. So that gives that lateral motion, that widening across your back. Tuck your chin and round your upper back as well. So where there's a concavity in the front, the convexity's in the back. So it's almost like a parachute looking stretch in our mid-back. Breathe into the parachute. Breathe into the space between your shoulder blades. 2 more breaths here. Big inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And then release your arms. Hands can relax on thighs. You can take a couple shoulder blade rolls in one direction. Shoulder blade rolls in the other direction. Arms behind us, interlace your fingers, draw your shoulder blades back and up. And now we're convex across the heart center. So you're squeezing back body, draw your shoulder blades tight and widen and open your heart center. Breathe in the sternum a couple times here. Take a deep breath in, big exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. And then release. Do the eagle arms on the other side. Your left arm up. You're gonna sweep your arm underneath, and you either take your fingerprints to your palm, or if you're using the strap on this side, you hold the strap with your left hand. Right hand can hold the strap as well. So it's like this. Okay. So you take your elbows forward. So it's like your elbows are going away from your sternum. That gives this very sort of two-dimensional widening and lengthening of your back body. It helps squeeze the front body. So this is length on the back, engagement in the front. You can tuck your chin, round your upper back, and then breathe into the distance between your shoulder blades. So another few breaths here. And so feel the convexity at heart center, the convexity across the back and the concavity in the heart center. So it's very it's almost like your diaphragm or a parachute. And then as you inhale, come up, and then we'll reverse the convexity and concavity. Hands behind you, draw your shoulder blades together and send your elbows down as you lift your lungs. So now there's this convexity across heart center, big stretch. We can breathe into it, and the stretch feels, my hope is it feels both vertical and horizontal. You can breathe into the whole thing. Okay, great. And then from there, release. However you're seated, come to hands and knees. If you were in Virasana, in fact, even if you weren't, you can extend one heel back, curl your toes under, and gently engage and relax the muscles around your knee a few times. Do that on one leg, and then you can extend the other leg back, curl your toes under, gently extend and bend that knee a few times. All right, and once you're satisfied with that, both toes curl under. Let's lift back into downward facing dog. So upper thighs lift. Drive your heels back, get a big stretch across the back of the legs. And you're lifting your thighs back and up as you press your heels back and down. All right, drive your hands through the floor. Feel it's almost like you're trying to bunch up the mat underneath your hands a little bit. So what that does is help support the wrists. So rather than, it's like your hands are just stopping us from falling, your hands are actively pushing down. It's going to help when we do some plank variations, and if it's in your practice, it's also going to help for the handstand variations. So, a few breaths here. So you can also just imagine you're in a handstand here. Drive your hands through the floor, through the mat. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time. Breath in. Okay, great. And then bend your knees, step up, and come all the way to standing. Arms sweep up overhead. Interlace your fingers. Press your palms wide and long. Press your knuckles up toward the ceiling. So big stretch here. 2 times. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And one last time. Breath in. Okay, great. And then so release. We're going to take a wider stance here. And those diagonals that we were doing face down, we're now going to do them standing, both diagonals at the same time. So it's like there's an X across the body from the front to the back. So the arms are up in sort of a diagonal. So we're like the letter X. And you're going to just drive your feet through the floor. Essentially, you press your hips forward and take your arms back. So this is engaging the back body, expanding the front body. And then as you exhale, the hips go back, hands come forward and even down, and you may reach through your legs. So this is it's like the crunch in your abs as you reach your hands through your legs. And you're going to go back and forth like this several times. So this is really opening the parachute of the front body. And then this is really making it concave. You can reach down. If it's in your practice, you reach your hands through your legs and go back and forth like this a few more times. And I inhale as there's space in our front body, and the exhale helps facilitate the squeeze, the abdominal work that it takes to reach your hands through your legs. 2 or 3 more breaths here. Okay, great. And on your next inhale, you can send your lungs forward, take your thighs back, and then exhale, let's take our hands to the floor for a wide-legged forward fold. So we'll be here as a posture to get a little more experience with the calf stretch, the hamstring stretch through the low back before we start going from side to side a little bit. So hands on the floor, spread your fingers. And you can press your knuckles into the floor and see if you can lift your palms up. This is going to give you a hand stretch that may feel like it's a good prep for either plank variations or handstand variations. But you're getting really the palmar fascia loosened up, so that the connective tissue of your palms. You can keep your wrists up as you forward fold a little more and get a little more stretch in the hamstrings if that works. 3, 4 more breaths here. Okay, very good. And you can bend your knees, hands come to hips, and you drive your feet down, press your hips forward. All right, very good. So this next one, we're going, it's kind of like toe touching in an aerobics class, but we're going to do it with a little more structure, more slowly, and with breath. And the idea is to really work on these diagonal expansions and contractions. So I'm going to mirror you again. Take your right hand to your hip, left arm is up, and we're going to work from the diagonal from left arm to right foot. As you inhale, really expand this diagonal. Take a deep breath in, like we did in locust. So you're squeezing, and then exhale. The hand comes across midline, and you're going to reach either to the inside of your calf or to the outside of your calf and reach as far back as you can. Inhale, you come up. The front diagonal is long. Exhale, you condense the front diagonal. Reach either to the inside of the leg or to the outside of your shin. And do that a few times here. So these cross-functional practices, these are used a lot in sports. I'm thinking particularly in sports where you're throwing a ball, or like javelin throwing, shot put. And a lot of the power of the throw really comes from this whole diagonal. And so you can really get your whole body working that. But let's do this another 2 or 3 times. Okay, great. And next time you inhale, come up, you can release hands to hips. So notice that X across the body. How did that move feel? And then we try it on the other side, please, if you'd like. You're gonna reach your right arm up, okay? And you can focus on the diagonal, from right fingers to diagonal leg. And press your hips forward a little. And then as you exhale, you're gonna round and reach your right hand either just to the inside of your shin, or if you like to reach it to the outside of your shin, and you go back and forth like this several times here. Okay, and this side might feel a little bit different. It might be tighter, it might be more open. But yeah, feel the expansion as you inhale, expansion of front body as you inhale, and the engagement as you exhale. And this is a bit more dynamic than a simple extension and flexion, so hopefully it feels like there's a little bit more like true dimensionality. So we're stretching not only vertically, but there's that diagonal introduces a little bit of horizontal, like widening and squeezing toward midline. So try this another few times. Yeah, reach your fingerprints as far back as you can. All right, very good. So the next time you inhale, rise back up. Exhale from there. You take your hands to the floor. Find your block. I'm still mirroring, so I'm going to take my left toes out, but you're going to take your right toes out to the right. You're going to bend your right knee, and we're going to take hand to block the floor to the outside of the thigh. Ultimately, if that doesn't work, you can totally go inside. All right, but from here, you're now going to you're going to send the right thigh forward, and you're going to squeeze the outside hip. So what that's going to do, if your block's on the outside, that's going to press your thigh into your arm. Now from here, the back body work from right thigh to left arm is to squeeze back. So in your side angle, you reach your top arm up by your ear, and as you inhale, you press your right knee into your arm, your top arm squeezes back. And then as you exhale, you can round your spine and reach your top arm underneath your front leg and round. So you're going back and forth like this several times. So yeah, the top arm sweeps underneath the front leg. You reach your fingers back as far as you can. And this is a back cross-functional engagement, back cross-functional expansion. Of course, the front cross-functional is happening too. All right, very good. And then the next time you inhale, come all the way back up to side angle. Exhale, hand onto hip, and you drive your feet into the floor. Come up, extend the right leg. You can swivel your toes so that your left toes point to the left. You bend your left knee to the left. And if it's available, hand to block the floor on the outside of the leg. And this bottom arm gives your leg a target to press into. All right, so ultimately if it's not available, you go here. But if it is available, you can really activate the outer thigh into your arm. And then from here, top hand, you reach it up, you reach it over, and you're gonna take the arm back, press your leg into your arm, squeeze and breathe into the parachute of the front body on inhale. And as you exhale, you're gonna reach underneath your leg as far back as you can. And you repeat that. Inhale, you breathe into front body. And as you exhale, you squeeze it, condense it. So you go back and forth like this several times. And just like in our wide-legged practice, this side might feel a little bit different from side to side. The ranges in the shoulder, the ranges of the twist, the ability for muscles to activate. You just go to where you can go. Working on expanding not only that verticality, but also the sort of horizontal from left to right. Squeezing, alternately squeezing and expanding side to side. So 2 or 3 more breaths here. All right, very good. Inhale as you come up to side angle. Exhale, hand to hip. And then inhale, you come all the way up. Lengthen, turn the toes in. Heel toe yourself together. All right, and you can place the block down on the floor. Pause here in Tadasana. Drive your feet through the floor. Gently lift the lungs up. All right, and we've done a lot of expansion, contraction. Find that space in between. Notice the space between expansion and contraction. My hope is it feels that the lungs feel a little bit more deep, they feel more wide, they feel taller. Okay, great. So from here, the next pose is a lunge. I'm no longer mirroring, so we're all going to take our right foot forward. And left hand on the block, you can step back. And so here's our lunge. Okay, and you can keep the block there if you'd like for balance assist as we do some spinal work. So as you inhale, you're going to squeeze the muscles of your back. Inhale, come up into a high lunge. So back heel's pressing back, lungs are lifting. You can squeeze your shoulder blades into the back, and then as you exhale, round your spine, hand comes down to the block, and go back and forth like this a couple times. So this is more of a balance challenge, of course, there's less on the floor. Very good, take a deep breath in. And then exhale, you can move the block out to the side, back foot steps up to meet the front. And let's try that on the other side. Right foot steps back, establish your lunge, make sure hips, knees, the expanse feels okay. All right, and then once you have your lunge in the legs, we're going to make a vinyasa. As you inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together as you lift your lungs up. And exhale, you can round your spine a little, hand down to the block. Inhale, you come up. Exhale, your hand goes down to the block. And do that twice more. Take a deep breath in, squeeze your back body, squeeze shoulder blades together. Exhale, you round, and take a deep breath in. Okay, great. Hand to block, step up to the top, come up to standing. And that's option number 1. If for either balance reasons or for reasons of shoulder mobility, that works for you better, go ahead and stick with that. Option number 2, right toes forward, right foot forward, left foot back. We're going to incorporate much more back and forth arm movement. So as you inhale, you're going to come up and the arms, squeeze your shoulder blades and the arms go behind you. And as you exhale, come forward. Since our right foot's forward, bring your left arm up, right arm sweeps underneath, and you can send your elbows toward the floor. So that's eagle arms. Inhale, you take your arms behind you, squeeze your shoulder blades, breathe into the canopy of your sternum, and then exhale, left arm up, right arm sweeps underneath into a low lunge with eagle arms. Try that a few times. All right, very good. And then on your next exhale, you can step up, come up to the top of the mat, and let's switch sides. Option one, you keep your block for your right hand. Option number two, if the balance is there and your shoulders feel okay with this, draw your shoulder blades into the back in the top lunge, so deep breath in. And then as you come forward, since our left foot's forward, bring your right arm up and you slide your left arm underneath. So eagle arms in a low lunge. And you go back and forth like that. So you're breathing into the convexity of your inhale. Exhale, make it concave in the front. And you go back and forth like this another few times. All right, very good. And then the next time you inhale, come up. You step the back foot up to meet the front. Come into Tadasana. Pause here, feet press down, lungs lift. Okay, notice the expansiveness around your lungs. It might feel that there's more convexity both in the front and the back. There's just more space that we can breathe into. So a couple breaths here. Okay, great. And then come up to the top of the mat. We'll take a sun salutation, one whole one and then one half one. So at the top of your mat, arms sweep up overhead. Huge inhale here, lengthen the front of your body. Exhale, bend your knees a little bit if you need to, and forward fold. Inhale, you're gonna look forward, lengthen out through the spine. Plant your hands, step or float back into push-up position. Take an inhale here, and exhale, you can lower halfway down or all the way down. Tops of feet on the floor. Draw your shoulder blades in and blossom the canopy of your lungs on inhale in upward facing dog. Exhale, upper thighs lift into downward facing dog. Few breaths here. Drive your hands straight down through the floor so you feel the palm side of your arms engage. You feel your underarms recruit. And there's two more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. On your next exhale, step or hop up to the front of the mat. Drive your hands through the floor. And once you're up there, inhale, arch your back a little bit, lungs go forward. Exhale, re-round, forward fold. Arms sweep up overhead. Drive your feet through the floor, lungs skyward. Exhale, palms to heart center. And then we'll do a half sun salutation to plank. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Bend your knees a little bit, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lungs forward, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, step or float back in the plank position. And we're gonna hold plank, press your hips down, draw your bottom ribs up, and drive your hands through the floor. So two more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then you're gonna lower down. And as you, so you lower down, you're gonna keep your arm position as it is, but you're gonna press your hips into the floor and squeeze your shoulder blades in, lift your thighs. So it's like locust. And then when you exhale, hands and toes to the floor, you can press back up into plank. So we're gonna lower, up and down, or lower to the floor, squeeze your back body, and as you exhale, land your hands, press back up into push-up. Inhale, you lower down, squeeze your back body. Exhale, you lower your hands and lift into plank. Let's do that one more time. Lower down, so you inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Exhale, you lift back up into plank. Okay, great. So release, you can make some wrist circles if that feels like a good thing to do now. So part two of this, they're basically harder push-ups and harder locusts. The back cross functional lines are at work a lot more. So as I lie down, you're gonna take your hands and your feet out a little bit. So they're out and forward. So I'm making more of an X. And then, so I usually inhale from here, inhale, squeeze my arms up toward the ceiling and squeeze my legs up. And as I exhale, toes and hands plant and I lift into like a wide X plank. I lower down, inhale as I lift, exhale, I lower, and notice that my arms are not fully extended. If you can do this, great, have at it. I cannot. This is about where I am, and I press my hands, press my toes into the floor, exhale. It's like you're doing a crunch, you lift your bottom ribs up, and then you go back and forth like this. Okay, all right. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is either handstand, and you just stay in handstand, drive your hands through the floor, lift your thighs up toward the ceiling, okay? So this is where the wall space is gonna come in. For those who are not doing handstands, stick with planks, either those 2 planks. If your wrists are done, keep a forearm plank for the next minute or so, okay? For those doing handstand, you could go up into handstand against the wall. Feel free to, to go up. The variation here though, as you press your hands down, is you take the legs out and wide, and you try to get into a handstand, either legs out to the side or all the way up. So you're using cross-functional. Okay? Again, make sure that you're in any danger of kicking something and injuring your foot or destroying any property. Okay. So try that for another couple breaths. If you're in plank, hold that for another couple breaths. Yeah, so it's a bit of a workshop here. Take a deep breath in and exhale. From there, release, and let's all go back into child's pose. Hands can reach out. Allow your head to relax. Notice the heart's accelerated. This is definitely cardio. Breathe into low back another couple times. All right, good. So we're gonna lie on the back now. So the next move, it's almost like an upward facing version of that second plank that we worked on. You keep your low back into the floor the whole time. And you take your legs up in the air, you reach up like this, okay? This is your exhale. Keep your low back into the floor, go out into as much of an X as you'd like, and then exhale, bring all 4 limbs together and lift your heart up. Inhale, keep your low back down, go into as big of an X as you'd like. Exhale, bring it together, and go back and forth like this another few times. Okay. Great. And then from there, you release. Pause with your feet flat on the floor. Okay. Good. And one more piece of abdominal work that also incorporates a twist. We're going to take our arms out to the sides. You're going to draw your shoulder blades in quite tight. And so the back of the arms are on the floor. And from here, you take, it's like an upward facing chair pose. So thighs are vertical, shins are horizontal. Inhale in the middle. Exhale, take your knees to one side while keeping your opposite shoulder down. And then as you inhale, come back up to midline, and you're going to alternate sides. So Jatara, Parivartanasana. If you'd like to, you can also take the legs straight. Of course, that's more abdominal work. You really get the obliques. you start on one side, so continue to the other side. And once you arrive into the middle, from there, place your feet on the floor. And as you press your feet into the floor, lift your hips up. Feet drive down to lift your hips. And if you'd like to, you can hold the sides of the mat and rock your shoulder blades underneath you. If you'd like, either use a strap or you can interlace your fingers underneath you. Again, to rock your upper arms inward. This expands the front of the body, both vertically and horizontally, so it also widens. So breathe into belly and into heart center. It's a full abdominal thoracic breath here. A few of them. Very good. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. Arms out of the way. Exhale, lower down. Okay, and then we'll flip over. And as we're here, we're going to come up into Sphinx pose. And we're on our way into a couple wheel poses, but I want to get a quad stretch here. So I'm bending my right knee, and I'm going to reach back with my right arm, squeeze the shoulder blade in, and then from here you can either hold the foot with a strap or with your hand. And as long as the knee is okay, you start drawing the foot toward the floor in a frog pose. And as your foot's drawing down, you also press your hips down. Particularly, I'm drawing my right foot in, so I'm pressing my right hip into the ground. And breathe a couple more times here. Okay, great. And you can let go of your foot. Curl both sets of toes under and press your heels back. Straighten out both legs. And then let's try that on the other side, please. So you can bend your left knee, reach back with your left hand, and either with a strap you hold the foot, or if you can make contact directly into the foot, do that. Draw your foot toward the floor. Listen to your knee in order to get whatever quad stretch you are meant to get. As you draw your foot toward the floor, the hip, its propensity is to lift. So you press the hip down in contrast. And that helps isolate the stretching in your quad, through psoas, and also into your abdomen. And then breathe into your left side a few more times. Okay, great. And then from there, you release, bend both knees, and you can either stay here while lifting your lungs up. If it's okay for your spine and your knees and your shoulders and everything, you can reach back, hold the outside arms, draw your shoulder blades, hold the outside ankles, draw your shoulder blades into the back, and then you press your heels up toward the ceiling, lift your lungs forward and up. Okay. So significant back bend here already. We're also widening the heart space. Breathe both abdominally and thoracically. So breathe in the belly and into heart center. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, lower down, and we're gonna lie on the back. The next wheel, the upward facing wheel, you can take bridge pose both times. So option number 1 is to come back up into bridge, and you're squeezing your back body to expand your front body. If you'd like to work on wheel, part 2 is from bridge, you plant your hands next to your head, and you draw your shoulder blades into the back, come up on the head for a couple breaths, and you come back down to bridge. Okay? If it makes sense for you, you press your hands into the floor to lift your lungs higher. And then from there, so you drive your feet down to lift your hips. You drive your hands down to open your heart center, and breathe full abdominal breaths. Continue that breath into the heart center. Now, 2 or 3 more breaths here. Okay, great. And then you lower down, look up toward the ceiling so you don't land on your head. You would land on shoulders. All right, and pause there. Notice the after effects of opening the front of the body in these ways. Notice the extra space around your lungs. And then so one more series of options, either the bridge pose again, or the intermediary stop from bridge pose to wheel. Stay there for a couple breaths if you'd like to. Also lift up. You drive your feet down to lift your hips up. Drive your hands down to open up the canopy of your lungs. And breathe into the parachute of your front body. Very good. One last breath here. And then you look up as you lower. All right. And once the hips land, you pause there. So notice the width of the lungs, the depth, the length of them. And with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor, you're going to drop your knees to one side. Pause here. And then bring your knees to center and drop them to the other side. Pause here. Okay, great. And then come back to middle. And please draw your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg forward along the ground. So you press your heel out. And as you hug your right knee in, press your left heel forward. Breathe into abdomen. So after a big expanding practice, we're now starting to use that energy and focus it inward rather than expand outward. Very good. And then from there, switch legs. Draw your left knee in. Extend your right heel out. Breathe into abdomen. Okay, great. And then please find your strap, and we're going to take the strap around our right foot. Right leg up in the air. You drive your heel up. Left heel still presses forward. So pause here in Supta Pada 1. And allowing all that expansiveness that we've worked on, just like at the end of a skydiving. I haven't skydived personally, but like when the parachute's job is done and the skydiver has landed on the earth, the parachute kind of folds in a little bit. It releases and relaxes. And that's what I hope this journey toward final relaxation feels like. Like after all that expansion, after all the width and the space we've created, we now get a chance to release and relax. And from here, you can let your right leg relax to the floor, left foot up in the air. All right, in Supta Padangusthasana 1, with your left leg up, you press your heel up toward the ceiling, right heel presses along the floor. Yeah, pause here, allow the pose to do some of the work. and feel that sort of powerful expansiveness become relaxed space. All right, take one last breath here. And you can remove the strap, both feet flat on the floor, and the strap by the sides. Either hug knees into chest, or you can take happy baby pose, where you draw your knees toward the floor. That will round the spine a little bit. So after a lot of back bending today, a little bit of a rounding as a counter. And that's also an invitation to allow your abdominals to relax and shorten, creating space for abdomen. And allow your breath to become softer, more intuitive, more organic. And if your knees are into chest, you hold your right knee in, extend your left leg forward. If you're in happy baby pose, you're going to hold your right leg in happy baby as you either A, place your left foot flat on the floor, or B, if you'd like to extend your left leg forward. This is basically an upward facing lunge. So yeah, left leg forward along the ground, right knee into chest, or right leg in happy baby pose. And there's a couple more breaths here. Okay, and then bring both knees into chest or take full happy baby. And we're going to replicate that on the other side. So your right foot either comes to the floor, or if you'd like, extend your right leg forward. And whether your left knee is into chest or your left leg is in a happy baby, the femur bones are going in opposite directions. Allow the pose to work on you. Enjoy the space our breathing practice has fostered, our physical practice has fostered, and relax into that space. Okay, great. And then from there, you can release both feet to the floor and you find your block. We're going to take the block underneath the hips and take our legs up in the air. If you have a bolster, and that might feel a little more comfortable in the block, you can totally take a bolster underneath your hips. But yeah, arms can be yogi's choice. You can take them in goalpost or by your sides. Find a place that feels okay for your hips to bear weight on the block. So Viparita Karani, which means inverted pool. The legs are up with as little effort as needed to really let the legs, just kind of like the fluid body of the legs drain down toward lower abdomen. And so all of this space we've created with the movement and our breathing can now be almost pool-like. So as our fluid body relaxes in the abdomen, this makes the blood more easily return to the torso. So we can fill that space up with fluidity. We allow our lungs to soften down. This is a slight inversion. So the weight of the abdomen, the abdominal organs relax toward our lungs. Yeah, and after all the movement work we did, really enjoyed the stillness here. Take note that there's internal workings, internal sensations. Even while we're winding down for final relaxation. All right. Great. And then place your feet on the floor. Engage your glutes a little bit to support your SI joint. Lift your hips. Please take the block out of the way. Lower down and settle into our final relaxation. So as you settle down, settle in. With the analogy of the parachute, not only is the skydiver safely on the ground, but the parachute is completely relaxed into the ground as well. So feel that quiet inward space. All of our expanding poses for the front body and the back body result in this sort of three-dimensional softness. So soften lengthwise, soften widthwise, and soften into your inner depth. And feel free to continue monitoring your internal space, enjoying that. I'd like to share the Heishin poem that inspired this practice. Feel free to listen, or feel free to listen to yourself. But I'll read the poem twice. Who said the sea's concave, mountains convex? Why, I swallow them whole, the boneless sky. Who said the sea is concave, the mountains convex? Why, I swallow them whole, the boneless sky. So you can notice the sea component, the water component of your body. Notice the expansiveness of your own internal sea. Notice the weight of your own internal mountains. And notice the space of your own internal sky. We'll be here for another 2 minutes. All right. Great. So from here, take any intuitive movements that help bring your limbs back into motion, your spine, your head. Take any intuitive breathing that helps you inhabit your internal space most fully. All right, and then from here, please draw your knees into the chest, both of them. Give them a good hug. Take a deep breath into your low back. And then roll over onto one side, pause on your side. Notice how it feels to change orientation after a period of stillness. And then as you inhale, make your way up to a comfortable seat, cross-legged or otherwise. All right, great. And notice the solidity of the legs. Notice your contact points. And at the same time, notice the spaciousness of torso, perhaps around neck. Notice the space around your brain. Allow your brain to feel relaxed and spacious. All right. Great. And so thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope you can put this space to positive use for the rest of your day. Take care. Namaste.